Every time the season changes, I make a little style mood board.
I do.
And it's not really an attempt to find things that I want to buy or take actionable steps about changing the way I dress. It's more of just vibe collection. What's feeling right? What's feeling cool for spring 2025? So today, I'm gonna take you through the mood board. We're gonna see what kind of themes we can pick apart, synthesize some analysis, perhaps, and overall just have a nice time looking at pretty stuff. And I've never made one of these videos before, partially because the last thing in the entire world that I want is for anyone watching this to think that I'm telling them what to wear, or they should wear this and they should not wear this, definitely, or else they're a LOSER loser. No. But after reflecting back on this mood board, I was like, oh, there's some interesting stuff going on here. So let's talk about it. Here we are, spring 2025 in style. I'll have this linked down in the description box, and you'll also find that if you click into this, you'll see tons of other mood boards. We've got fall 2024, winter 2023, winter 2022. What is this? Okay, sorry in advance for that. So let's zoom out, let's take it all in. This board is a board of contrast. Contrast of shape, contrast of color, of texture, of all the things. And I think that's a pretty good explanation of how I'm feeling about style these days, or just in general. I'm not the gal that's gonna be matching my belt to my shoes, let's just put it that way. And one of the first kind of buckets of contrast I see is avant-garde and retro smashed together, or like vintage and avant-garde commingling. For example, lots of this like 1800s striping happening, but with interesting color combinations like this chocolate and green. Oh, is that even a little hint of red on the edges? Oh my gosh. Devil inspired. I mean, I wouldn't go that far. Let's just take a moment to look through a couple of these real quick. Ooh! Specifically, we're seeing lots of fitted bodices, lots of structure there, but with stripes and tartans, colors that you wouldn't have necessarily seen back then. This lace up kind of full body detail I've also been really into recently. I think it's a really cool way to add an extra edge, extra dimensionality, and also extra customizability to make an object fit to your body a little bit better. I really like that this type of lacing offers that. And I've been trying to brainstorm ways to integrate this in interesting ways in clothing. For example, I really want to try it with like a t-shirt, like lace all the way down the front of a t-shirt. That would be cool. Some sort of like lace beanie with like fabric panels on the front and back, and then the lacing in between, you know? One thing about those things I just said is that they are ideas. And going back to a structured bodice or torso, I'm seeing that so much in these pins. Something was in the air. Like with this, these three pins, this red, this green, and this black, feel like they are all kind of the same thing. Structure through the torso, this drop waist is really cool, but with like a lot of gathering and volume at the other ends, with the volume in the top and the volume in the skirt. I think this silhouette is so cool. So cool. Playing with curved edges. This top, how cool is that? You usually don't see a hem that goes upwards instead of downwards. That seems like something that would be fun to try and make too. Like not too complicated, just a lot of gathering. Oh, look at that. Wow. And this guy is similar with all of the structure up top and then the volume at the bottom. You know, I used to hate drop waists. When I was younger, I was like, well, my hips are really wide. I don't want to accentuate that. And now I'm like, why would I not want to accentuate that? It's kind of the best part. I've been pinning this board since winter, looking forward into the next season. Like, what's coming down the vibe pike? And now looking at it, I'm like, this is all big skirts, big voluminous skirts, ruffles, texture. Like it's cohesive, which is nice to see, you know? So all throughout this board, we are seeing avant-garde takes on retro or vintage silhouettes. I have butterflies looking at this. Okay, something else I want to talk about is specifically texture and techniques that result in specific texture. Specifically, shirring this texture. It's one of my favorites. Shirring and plissé, I think, are like kind of neck and neck for my personal favorites. If you care about that, I just love the form that you're able to achieve with shirring, which is basically like these rows of elastic thread with fabric gathered in between to create this stretchy but also structural fabric. I think that's what I like about it. It's that contrast, the stretch, but then the structure that it creates. I think these comme des garçons tank tops are so cool. And I think what makes it cool is that the actual shirring isn't in straight lines, which gathers the fabric in weird ways and makes what would typically be a pretty standard right angle pattern, like this grid or this check, it kind of warps it, you know? It gives it a little stank. And I think that's what I'm really looking for in my personal styles, a little sick twisted stank on any and everything. Another contrast bucket is literal shape contrast. So angular meets ovular, booba and kiki. We've already talked about that a little bit, like with these pieces. I think this is a great example too. I love this top. It's so cool. So we've got the nice angular structure of the planes of the shoulder. Then we have the puff shoulder. It creates a little bit of roundness. The ruff creates some straight angles, but then the ribbon is nice and round. Tastes good. Here's another good example. This shirt is basically a square. Doesn't get much more angular than that, but then the skirt, it's so round, it's so bubbly. And this contrast of the straight angles and then the ovular, a lot of times, specifically in clothing, it comes out in an almost architectural way. Like it results in a very sculptural silhouette. Y'all know one of my goals is to look like a beautiful Greek pillar. Oh, that's so beautiful. The structure of the torso and the beautiful gathering of the skirt and the top. This dress is from Kai Collective. I am so tempted by it. It's called the Adesua dress. It's right over here on the right. Have you ever seen something so beautiful? Tell me true. Oh, I'm blinded. So beautiful. If that ain't a beautiful pillar in dress form, I don't know what is. I don't know what you want from me. Let's continue into another bucket that I've noticed. And I talked about this in my 2025 trend predictions video, but of course the uprising of crafted items, DIY, adding personal details to your already existent closet. And the bucket I've noticed is elevated design craft objects. For example, items that have clearly been not DIY'd, but I've been hair on my shirt the whole time. Because I feel like DIY almost has maybe a low quality connotation. They've been customized, but in a very curated, high design sense way. We've got these beautiful, maybe leather trench coats with these mirror circles sewed all over them, but it doesn't feel twee or immature to me. This feels elevated, avant-garde. Maybe it's the cream color. Maybe it's the specific size of the circles. If they were smaller, it might look kind of childish. If they were bigger, it might look maybe more over the top, cartoony. All these little details matter. All right, another example of elevated craft objects. Here's a good one. Got this beautiful open weave crochet top, the textural flower embroidery added to it. So if this were just a shirt with a flower embroidered on it with embroidery floss, that might look kind of DIY, but it's the fact that it has this big open weave of the crochet and that the flower is so toothsome. That's one of my favorite ways to describe things that I like. It's got some body to it. It elevates it. At least I like to think it does. There are all kinds of different elevated craft objects on this board. Here's another contrasty bucket that I like. It's this dark but pastel or hypercolor combination. For example, here we've got this very springy palette. We've got the butter yellow and the jewel tone green and this really pretty lavender purple, but it's on a black background, so it automatically has a bit of an edgier feeling. Whereas if this had been on a white shirt, it would have an airier vibe. When I worked in t-shirt design, we would call this like a midnight floral or a dark tropical. This is kind of another example where we have these bright light color panels like the blue and the marigold, but when it's paired with darker, richer colors like this maroon and this really dark cobalt, it gets a little edgier, a little more interesting. Whereas if these had been like pastel or like cream, it would feel different, you know? I love this. Perfect spring outfit, in my opinion. Still got that spring yellow going on, but with this bleachy, kind of grungy dark texture. So good. One thing we can say for sure about this entire board is that there's nothing really understated about what I'm liking for spring 2025 or what I'm liking in clothing ever in general. I'm the kind of gal that likes to overstate instead of understate. Can you tell? Earlier in this video when I was talking about not being the kind of person that would like match my belt to my shoes, I was gonna say like I'm really not a matchy type of person, but I am. I love a monochrome or a mono look outfit, but there's got to be a little extra zest on it. For example, mono texture look, but we've got some volume in the skirt, structure in the shoulders. She's even got it in the tie. So cool. Versus if this were just like a normal tailored suit, straight leg pants, wouldn't be as into it. Another good example of a monocolor fit that doesn't feel boring to me. We've got this color flood of pink, but with all these different textures. Ooh, even slight different changes in the shades as well. I would say the purse is purple, but the top is almost maroon. So we've got kind of a wide array of tones, but it feels monochromatic. Those boots are cool. Similar monochromatic look. The outfit itself is just a flood of this beautiful gingham, but there's also contrast. For example, the casual shoe with the more elevated outfit. Cool. The really soft hood with the more saturated skirt. Cool. We love matchy-matchy, but make it extra, I guess you would say. Another thing that I'm definitely noticing is silver baubles. I'm a silver bauble fan, to be certain. This is my dream ring stack. I would wear this every day. Both hands, all 10 fingers. And I could go like this to soothe myself and others. I love a non-dainty silver piece of jewelry. This bubbly bangle was haunting me on Instagram for a while. I would see it almost every time I opened the app because they probably knew how long I stared at it every time I got the ad. But I know I can find something similar at the thrift store. Very next time I went to the thrift store, got this guy. It was like $3. So let that be a lesson to you. If Instagram or TikTok or whatever can try and entice you to buy stuff, just know that that exact thing is probably waiting for you at the thrift store. Maybe. Oh, so good. Going back to elevated DIY crafts, I am so tempted to make something like this. Just a shirt with an interrobang on it or something. I think that would fit right in with my wardrobe. All right, as we're scrolling through here, let me know, are you noticing any other trends? Any other buckets that we can kind of categorize things into? I mean, there's the obvious clown or jester type bucket that just goes without saying. I think at this point I'm seeing a lot of red, but also just a lot of color in general. Pops of color that are usually on a darker background or base. That's definitely my MO. We've got a lot of transparency that I'm seeing, layering always, and pretty much all silver hardware. Gold who? Copper huh? Again, if you want to take a scroll through this at your leisure or check out the other mood boards from different seasons, the link's down below. If you've been pulling together inspiration or imagery, or you've just been thinking about kind of what the vibe you're interested in going forward, drop it down in the comments. Let's chat. What's exciting these days? And finally, speaking of elevated DIY, if that sounds interesting to you, make sure you come back next week because we're gonna have a video all about DIYing an entire spring outfit. And I may have been wearing one of the pieces this whole time. Gulp. Anyways, if that sounds fun, make sure you're subscribed so you get notified when I post that next Sunday. Like I said at the start, I've never done one of these videos before, so let me know if you liked it. We can do more in the future, talking through what makes our style brains tick. And I've been recording for 40 minutes, and I told myself if I recorded for 40 minutes, I had to shut up and stop recording. So I'm gonna do that. Oh, but first, do you see them? Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you next week for some DIY shenanigans. Until then, you're stinky, but I love ya. Okay, bye. Bye.